What's up, millennials? Welcome to another episode of Amazonet's Raw Daily. Today is Friday, it's episode 75. And we're going to talk about some interesting posts I read yesterday from Andreas Reifen, who is the founder of Crealytics and performance marketing tool / agency. And he is one of the I think, sharpest minds when it comes to retail media. So not only Amazon ads, but retail media in general. And yesterday he posted about a comparison of this new development on Amazon that sponsor product campaigns do now deliver also traffic off Amazon. So your ads can appear on BuzzFeed and Pinterest. We talked about this week already in some episode. And yeah, he basically talked about this a little bit on LinkedIn, how he kind of puts it into perspective when compared to Google, because Google also had released 10 years ago a so-called search partner business. So everyone who's doing Google ads or who has been doing or has done Google ads in the past knows within the campaign settings, you can opt in to also advertise your campaigns, to let your campaigns show on Google search partners. We could not do much on these settings. You could just say opt in or opt out. You could not increase or decrease the bids there, and usually the performance was not the best. There was lots of impression generated, at least in Germany, but not that much clicks, and the conversion rate were also usually not the best. But it was one kind of setting every agency was kind of tweaking. Either you opt in or you opt out. And when you're doing an account audit, one of the first thing is you check, hey, how is search partners doing? And if it's doing bad, then tell the client, hey, you have search partners opted in and it's not doing good, so opt out. Now, what Amazon is doing with their search partners, with their partner websites, BuzzFeed and Pinterest and others, is basically somewhat similar. Google ads, Google search ads, and Google search partners is comparable to sponsored product ads and the sponsored product ads, which are then shown off Amazon. And he does a comparison for one reason. He wants to see what is the impact, the dollar impact on revenue for Amazon, how much money can they make from this, and what eventually to expect also for sellers, how much impact it is on our side. And I'll link you to a LinkedIn post in the description because it's really valuable, I think, to read. And so he's looking at the volume of search partners. He says that the ad spend they see with their accounts only in the US is roughly 0.9%. Let's round it up to 1%. 1% of total Google ads ad spend is on search partners. So it's not a majority, it's not even a lot. And only 0.4% of the ad revenue. So you can see the conversion rate is only half of that, of the other placements. So 1% of ad spend is going to search partners. Is that something which we will see at Amazon as well, that only 1% of our spend is going to be attributed to off Amazon placements? Could be. Let's see. All right, then he says like, okay, this is 1% and so on and so forth. And this is just like on their accounts. And as they're a performance-driven agency / tour provider, they tend to have a selective approach, he calls, or you could say, hey, maybe we turn off search partners a lot because it doesn't perform. So let's assume in general, Google is doing 5% of search revenue from search partners. And then he assumes something like that Amazon, because they have a better network or whatever, they have a better opportunity there, they can increase that to 10%. So if 10% of the revenue would actually come from search partners, that would be an additional almost 1 billion in ad revenue for Amazon, because they're currently doing like 22 billion was last year in the US, the Amazon advertising revenue in the United States. And when you add 10% on top of that, does this make sense? Well, whatever. Let's not go to details here in the calculations. 10% of 22 billion should be more than 1 billion. But whatever, it's a lot of money they would get. And now the interesting thing here, so first of all, it's interesting to think about that as a comparison itself, to think about, okay, search partners is similar to search partners maybe on Google, and then saying, okay, on Google it's maybe 5%. So why worry? It may be only 5% on Amazon as well. So for all the sellers who are kind of fearful of this new development and who have a respect that, or who think they might spend too much money and lose too much money on these placements, then eventually you can think, okay, maybe only 5%, 10% is the maximum damage I would get on these things. And damage means like I'll still get some conversions, but maybe the conversion rate is not as high. Now, what I think, and this is a different, so I think his thinking here is correct and can be assumed. Maybe correct is something we have to figure out, but it's a good assumption. It's a good hypothesis. I don't disagree with that. I think it's a well thought that maybe 10% is the amount of spend we can see. And maybe that's something what advertisers should plan, kind of, that eventually their sponsored product budgets or spend will increase by 5 to maximum 10% through these search partners. Amazon said they will introduce it slowly, so don't expect the full 10% to be happening very soon. And now my personal additional thought on that was, Amazon is the biggest advertiser in the world, or it's one of the biggest. I think they overtook Procter & Gamble in 2021 with the advertising budget. They had 20 billion, Procter & Gamble had 19 billion or something like that. So they are heads up with the biggest advertisers in the world, if not the biggest advertiser in the world. They spend around $20 billion on ads, Amazon alone. Maybe even more in the last years. Now, where do you spend that much money? Obviously, you can spend lots of money on Google Ads, and Amazon is doing lots of Google Ads. So if you search on Google for brands or whatever, which are on Amazon, you might see an advertisement from Amazon on that brand. Now, where do they spend also money? I have really no clue. This is just an assumption and an idea and a thought. I've not digged into reports where I could eventually find it. But where can you spend this kind of money? Amazon is not doing TV ads. Amazon is all about digital advertising, or maybe they do some TV ads. Maybe they're also doing some events and these kind of things. So there will be also some part of the 20 billion invested there. But the biggest sites where you can spend money is affiliate sites, and it's maybe sites like Pinterest, right? So it's most likely some of that money they spend on advertising, or a huge proportion of that money, or some proportion of that money, is spent on the same websites they are now calling their search partners, their advertising partners. And instead of Amazon paying these placements for themselves to drive traffic to product detail pages and to Amazon, they are now outsourcing this task, this thing, to the sellers. Now, instead of Amazon booking these placements, paying themselves, having somebody who needs to monitor and manage this all stuff, they integrate it into sponsored products, so that now the sellers basically pay for those ad placements. So what I think, and that's my opinion here, is Amazon has made a very smart move of outsourcing their own costs, their own operations on getting traffic from these sites to sellers, to us, to the advertisers, or they're on the way to outsource this thing, and let us, the advertisers, do the operations and do the paying. That is two benefits for Amazon. They have to pay less, and they have to have less people working on these things, on these projects, on these integrations, on these operations, and they just kind of have to create the technical capability. So there will be a shift, obviously. So maybe you need some more people then in the tech teams to be able to run this. So from an operational standpoint, you might not save that much money, but if you can, and let's assume this is this 1 billion we talked about earlier, this 1 billion revenue, that was the costs Amazon had, and now they turn this 1 billion costs into 1 billion revenue, and they still get the same traffic. Isn't that like a masterpiece of business management? I think from an Amazon perspective, this is really smart. From an advertising perspective and from an advertiser perspective, I think, well, we have to take it. I'm not happy about it, but we have to take it. And that's basically, yeah, that's how I see it. And that's one thought for you guys today to think about this new off Amazon placements. And the last other thing I wanted to announce or to talk about, and just really just briefly, because it's an early beta, but yesterday Lauren tagged me on LinkedIn on a new beta for sponsored brands. Sponsored brand product collection ads get a nice little update. You can now add up to 5 custom images. And if you do so, it creates a slideshow in the ad. So instead of having one custom image, you can have 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. 5 is the maximum. You can also just have 2. And then these custom images will, for the customer, they will rotate. So they will change every 2 seconds or every 3 seconds. 2 to 3 seconds is the timer. They will change, and you will have an effective slideshow. This is a super early beta. So not that much results as of yet, but one thing you can see here, and one thing you should think about, or how you should think about that, is Amazon introduced sponsored brand video top of search, which is sponsored brand to store. So they bring moving images to the top of search. Now Amazon is introducing for the main top of search ad type product collection ads, they're introducing to add more custom images as a slideshow. So they're bringing, again, moving images to the top of search. So if you want to learn one thing today, it's moving images are better than static images. That's why Amazon is bringing these campaigns to the top of search. And that's why Amazon is kind of introducing these things. Also, you can show a much wider variety of things. So it could be very interesting to play around with that. Could also work as some sort of A/B testing tool, because you can change the first image and the second image and then kind of create different campaigns where this rotates, and then you look at the CTR, and there's a couple of things you can do with it. And I think with that, we'll call it a day. We call it a week. Thank you very much for listening. Have a wonderful Friday, a wonderful weekend, and see you next week. Bye-bye.